This is the Northwest Ankline Super Bowl show coming to you from Radio Row, Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas. And, of course, it is Super Bowl 58. It features the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Our next guest is a man, well, he is a league MVP. He's one of the greatest Seahawks of all time, the only Seahawk in history to win the MVP honors. He was part of a Seahawk team that went to the Super Bowl and took on the Pittsburgh Steelers in Detroit. The one and only Shaun Alexander.
Seahawks.
There you go. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing good, man. It's
you look
always
like you
fun.
can still play. Every time I see you, you look like you can still play.
I'm chasing kids at a high level right now. You know, so my wife and I just had baby number 13. So it's our 10th girl, 3 boys. Life is fun. The oldest 2 are at college. There's a second oldest that is at Liberty with the oldest, and she runs track. And so our third oldest, she's was a high school All-American as a sophomore, so this is her junior year now in high school. And so then the boys are coming, and they play football and basketball, so it's a lot of fun.
13 kids. Your wife deserves a medal.
Doesn't she?
Yeah.
I texted her this morning. I said, how you feeling, baby? How's everything going with the kids? She's like, oh, I've been kind of feeling sick. And I was like, oh, as much as you do.
What's the range?
The oldest is 20. The youngest is 7 months.
Wow. That's.
Yeah, we're laughing because our friends' kids are about to have they're all kind of phasing out. They're all going to college.
Yeah.
The kids that we've poured into that were kind of a little bit younger than us, their kids are seniors in high school. And then there's the kids that kids are kids. And then we're like, wait. Then there's our friends, our kids' friends that are a little bit older. They're getting married and having kids. We're like, we have kids with all of these people. Is something wrong with us? What's going on here? But we wouldn't want to give any of them back. My girls are just wonderful, and I love being a girl dad, and it's pretty awesome.
Hey, speaking of kids, tell us about Stand Together Foundation and Cafe Momentum. I know we've chatted about this in the past, but talk about helping out kids. This is a great initiative.
Man, Stand Together, my partnership and being an ambassador for them for the last 5 years has just been wonderful. You know, it's some of the most successful businessmen, women, and philanthropic leaders in the country, and they have been fully invested in helping change the culture, change the country, tackle some of the greatest issues in our country, and it's been great. And so Cafe Momentum is one of the big issues that touches my heart. It's a juvenile justice system. Like, what if we changed how we treat kids that get in trouble at a young age? And so Cafe Momentum has just grown. We started in Dallas, and helping these kids in recidivism. In most cities, it's 45 to 50%, which means you're going to go back to prison. Kids in Cafe Momentum, it's 11%. And so we've had to plan, well, what if we did this in every NFL city? And so as of right now, we have one in Pittsburgh now. We have one in Nashville. The Denver Broncos just jumped in, and they've created the partnership. So we'll have Denver set in 2024. We'll have Atlanta in hopefully 2024. And then we got Houston, Miami, and Tampa, ready to go next.
You know, it's interesting. I was just thinking about this when you were talking about that initiative, right? And thinking about kids. And the real parallel between that and athletes, right? I think a lot of athletes, and of course you know this clearly, is you just want to be coached and you want to have guidance and you want to feel valued.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's all kids want too.
Everybody wants
They want a little coaching, a little guidance, and they want to feel like they're valued.
Yeah, everybody wants to know that they're actually worthy enough to be cared for at their weakest stage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, hey, you still count even if you mess up, and you're valuable enough for me to come coach you up how to go be great. Everybody wants that.
Shaun Alexander is our guest, former Seattle Seahawk, of course, an MVP in the National Football League. I think we've talked about this before, but I'll rehash it anyways in case we haven't. This week, what's it like for you? Super Bowl. And what I'm talking about is, the memories.
Yeah, there's a wrestle of just bittersweet, I'm watching around and, you see all the guys that played with you. There's Chad Johnson and T.O. that just walk by, and you're like, oh, man, here's some other guys that played in there while I was there. And you get to this game, I was thinking back to man, I got some of the most funniest phone calls, from Seth Meyers, who was one of the guys on Saturday Night Live at the time, and he was like, I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, but I hope you play well. Matter of fact, I'm going to call you in the middle of the night to wake you up to make sure the Steelers win. You know what I mean? It's just funny stuff like that. There's just great memories and moments where, you are one of the stars of everything that's going on. So that's great, and you wish everybody could have that experience. And then the game itself, to lose it is something that's more painful than anything you matter, because you're like, oh, like forever, the greatest game of the year you got to play a part of, great honor, but you lost. And so that's rough. And, you know, whether it's the referees had a bad day, which they've all said they had, it still don't make it feel any better. Whether it's, hey, we know we played Pittsburgh 10 times, they could only beat us once, and that one night they beat us. And we knew as long as they don't have any big runs, any big plays, and they had two of them, the reverse pass for a touchdown and that long run by Willie Parker, you know. We're like, man, the things that – and we can't turn the ball over. We did. And we can't have a lot of penalties. We had more penalties, I think, than any other
Yeah,
time
well,
of the
the
year.
officiating is – you know, everybody looks at that game, and I know one of the officials came out to your training camp the next year to actually apologize to the team. It's like, yeah, thanks, bud. That really helps. But, you know, Shaun, I've had this debate sometimes with people, and I've heard both sides of it. Would you have rather lost a tight game, or would you rather get blown out? And I say that because if you're blown out, hey, they were better. Whereas if that tight game, you're like, damn, it burns you more. You know what I mean?
It does. I don't know. I seem to have gone amnesia when it comes to any time I've been blown out. So that might be what you're saying right there. That might hold true. You know, but I just think, like, man, like, you know, you have a shot at that game you really want it.
Do you know what I remember? Two things before we let you go. The one thing I remember about that game is walking down to the dressing room area, the locker room area after the game, and here's Todd Lewicki, who was running the team at the time.
Love
friend.
him.
I know Todd since his days in Vancouver. And here's this big guy. He's like 6'4", 6'5". He had like 3 kids, and they're all like, you know, under 5 or 6, and they're outside the locker room, and they're all crying. Yeah. And here's this big guy that he got down like in a catcher stance, and, you know, just hugged his kids. And I'll never forget that moment. It's just one of those things that kind of burns in your head. Forget about the game, but just the emotion of, you know, a dad trying to comfort his kids after that loss. My other favorite Shaun Alexander moment, the year you guys played at Husky Stadium, I go down to watch my beloved Raiders, and you rip off, I don't know what it was, like an 89-yard touchdown run. And the craziest part about it, and I know you remember this, you're looking up at the scoreboard like in a rearview mirror to see if anybody's trying to catch you from behind.
Yeah, you know, that game was really, really special. You know, that run was funny. You know, I'd had some long runs earlier, and I remember bursting through that thing before we crossed the 50. And I was like, oh, okay, man, I'm gone. And I could feel the engine, all the nitro buzz. I had touched them all out. I was like, oh, man, they're going to catch me. And so all I did was I kept looking at the screen and think, okay, is he to my left or is that my left or my right? And I was like, if I bend a little bit, maybe he won't catch me. And I was like, oh, I bit, and I kind of straightened up a little bit, and he broke his speed. And then he had to dive for me and clip my heels, and I kept on going and diving in the end zone. That was a great game.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Hey, you know what? This place is getting a little crazy today, Radio Row. I think you got to call Max Strong.
Yeah, get my fullback up here.
Get a little blocking.
Mac, they're a little too much over here. Let's go.
Hey, Shaun, great stuff. Great having you on board, and continued success. Stand Together Foundation and Cafe Momentum. Check it out at www.cafemomentum.org/Super Bowl.
That's right. Seahawks.
There you go, man. All the best.
Right, man.